Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dean Davey. Welcome to this session of organizational behavior, in which I'll be dealing specifically with teams. If 1 + 1 = 2, you're doing it wrong. What does that mean? Well, fundamentally, I believe that an organization's success, or a large part of an organization's success, really depends and hinges on its ability to harness the power of teams. I also believe that as a leader, a large part of your sustained success, and as a result your career success, depends largely on how you have the ability to harness the power of team, how you have the ability to create and develop high-performing teams that can really add to organizational success. I believe that a high-performing team should exponentially magnify each individual's contribution towards achieving a common goal. So realistically, what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, is that 1 + 1 should actually equal 50. With that in mind, I'd like to lay down the learning objectives for this session on teaming. The learning objective is as follows. What I'd like to do is identify the concepts in creating a high-performing team, specifically around creating measurable goals for the team. Secondly, around understanding individual contribution and strengths in a team. And thirdly, around understanding the stages of development for and in a team. I believe that to create a high-performing team, and research has shown this, that a team needs to have a common goal. Secondly, the team needs to understand and recognize individual contribution and strength. And thirdly, the leader of that team needs to understand that in order to build a high successful team or a high-performing team, it takes time and there's a specific process involved which needs to be managed very carefully. So if we cover these objectives, I think we'll be well on our way to understanding high-performing teams and teaming. I love this definition of teamwork, and it seems so simple. It says the following: teamwork is a group of individuals working together to achieve a common goal. What could be more simpler? A group of individuals, each one with their own ambition, each one with their own understanding of the world, each individual with their own strengths, each individual with their own value system. Maybe it's not that simple. And then, as a leader, what you have to do is get those individuals to achieve a common goal by applying management techniques to get the team working effectively towards that common goal. Maybe not as simple as we might have thought it is in the beginning of the session. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'd like to take you through is the 3 key attributes of a high-performing team. Attribute number 1, the team has a strong goal. I'm going to go through each of these in detail. So, attribute 1, the team has a strong goal. What does this mean? This means that the leader of the team sets clear expectations for the team. How does this work? The results, the vision must be measurable. Every single individual in the team must understand exactly what the end goal is. The leader then sits the team down and defines the operating values. You might be asking yourself why this is important. Well, if you don't have a clearly defined set of operating values, you've defined the what we want to do through the end goal or the vision, but you haven't defined the how we achieve it. And the how is very important in a team environment because it sets the standard of behavior that's acceptable to that specific team. The third thing about creating a common goal is really around clarifying communication structures. I've found historically and in my experience that if you don't set clear communication structures and channels for the team in the upfront stages of the team definition, then often things can go awry and things that need to be communicated aren't communicated, and as a result the whole team falls to shambles. So, point number one in actually defining a high-performing team, the first act is defining the goal, clearly and measurably. So, we've just had the World Cup in South Africa, and I'd like to use this analogy of building a team to reflect the 3 stages of building a high-performing team. Let's imagine the coach of Spain sitting in the first meeting when he starts planning the World Cup route. He's probably sitting there with a group of talented individuals, and he's saying the following: boys, I want to win this. Anything less than number 1, bringing home that trophy, would be failure. Clearly set the expectations in no uncertain terms. 2, he's saying, All right, this is how we're going to achieve it. Our operating value for this specific team is hard work, dedication, devotion, commitment. Here are rules around what you can and can't do within the confines of the value system and the operating value system of this team. 3, this is how we communicate. You've got an open communication structure to me. You've got an open communication structure to the assistant coach. Every day when we're practicing, you're more than welcome to freely communicate with me. What has the coach done? He has set the goal. He's created a communication structure. He's creating an operating value system. So, point number 2 around, or attribute number 2 of a high-performing team. We've already decided that attribute number 1 is setting measurable goals. Well, attribute number 2 is really around understanding every single individual that makes up that specific team. So let's look at that in detail. What do we need to understand about every single individual? Firstly, I need to understand their individual contribution, what they're good at, what they're great at. For example, in a team, you might have people who are very good at visionary or strategy. You might alternatively have people who are good at coordination. You might alternatively have people who are very good at client relationships, at getting the team going. You might have people who are very good at detail, people who are not good at detail, but they're good at strategic intent, strategic planning. And you need all these people in a team, and you need to understand what the strengths of every single individual in that team is. Point number 2, you need to position those individuals in the team in a place that plays to their strengths. And in the slide after this, I'm going to discuss the Belbin role model, which is really a team profiling system and mechanism that helps us profile individual characteristics of an individual so that we can position them in a team in a position of strength. Thirdly, we need to manage that team in terms of their competence and their commitment. Thirdly, we need to manage each individual in terms of their commitment and their competence. So what you've clearly got here is you're managing the individuals in the team. You're understanding each individual's unique contribution. You're understanding their role in the team, and you're managing their competence and their commitment at an individual level. On this point, ladies and gentlemen, what I'd like to introduce you to is a team profiling system called the Belbin role model. And I'll take you through this using a project as an example and how each of these profiles is necessary to a successful project. So, you're in the beginning of the project. How does a project necessarily start? It starts with an idea. It then moves on to somebody who gives that idea a bit of shape. It then moves on to investigation around that specific idea. After that, you get somebody who comes along and he starts breaking that big idea into little manageable chunks, which make sense, little tasks. You've then got somebody who consistently monitors how this project plan is going. They're assimilating information. They're bringing it into the realm of the team. They're bringing relevant information into the realm of the team. You've then got somebody who clarifies the group objectives and sets agendas and follows up on every meeting. You've got the team workers. You've got people who are focused on the individuals in the team, who are good at creating a sense of camaraderie, who are compassionate, who are empathetic. And finally, yes, you've got the completer, because at the end of the project, you need the team, you need the project to have been achieved. An effective project is a project that's completed. So what does that mean in the realms of Belbin and relating that to a specific project? Well, quite simply, Belbin breaks down a project, all right, and a team into 8 different types of people that are necessary to make a project or a team successful. You've got the planter, who's the ideas person. You've got the shaper, who gives it a bit of shape. And generally, these are the leaders of the team, very dominant, wanting to get things done. You've got the resource investigator, who loves dealing with facts and energy and bringing new facts into the team realm. You've got the implementer, who takes the big dream and puts it into bite-sized chunks that are manageable. You've got the monitor evaluator, who takes information, assimilates it, and puts it into a project plan. You've got the coordinator, who keeps the team together. You've got the team worker, and finally you've got the completer, who gets the project done. The importance of this. It's very important to have each of those roles in a team to have a successful project. And you need to understand the unique contribution of every individual before you can move on to creating a high-performing team. So that's stage 2. Stage 3, moving along, is really around creating a high-performing team. In this stage, or at this stage in the development of a team, the leader needs to look at the team holistically. You've already set the goals, you're already understanding unique contribution at individual level, and now you need to understand that a team goes through a certain life cycle before it becomes a high-performing team. You need to understand these stages and manage these stages of the team. You need to also adjust your leadership style to match each of the stages. And at a team level, from a team perspective, you need to manage the team morale and performance. So, let's discuss this in a little bit more detail. There are 4 stages in the development of a team from a new team to a high-performing team. And I'm sure you've heard this saying before. It's called forming, storming, norming, and performing. All right, so let's discuss this in a little bit more detail. What's the forming stage of the team? The forming stage of the team is when you bring a whole bunch of unique individuals into a room, you set the team objectives, you set the goals, you have maybe an off-site where you have a bit of team building, and then you move on out into project phase. So you might have scoped the project management tools, you might have scoped the communication forums and methodologies and processes, and now the team goes out into the big wide world. It might be a virtual world, and they're on this project. What happens next? And we've seen it time and time again. After 3 or 4 weeks, person A is not talking to person B, person C is keeping information from person D, the manager or leader of the team is at wit's end because he or she is not receiving relevant information and relevant project outputs at the right time. And what happens is an investigation takes place and you realize that the team's falling to pieces. Ladies and gentlemen, this is perfectly normal. It's called the storming stage, and if managed well, it's a very, very powerful tool to move on to the next stage, which is called norming. The norming stage is really when the group starts getting a bit of its own identity. They start functioning a little bit more effectively. Team members start building bonds with each other, and they're really past the storming stage. The next stage of the team is obviously called performing. This is when the leader can literally sit back and the team is optimally functional, effective and efficient. Team members are working well together, they're loving the project, and everything's going well towards a successful project. So, what does this mean for you as the leader of a team? Well, basically, if you don't understand the dynamics and the route to a high-performing team, you may at any stage in this process become disillusioned and apply the wrong management style or the wrong mantra, the wrong ethos to that specific stage of the team. If the team's going through the storming stage, as an example, understand it, see it for what it is, and apply a leadership style that's very relevant to that stage of the team development stage. So, in summary, a high-performing team has the following characteristics. They've got a very strong goal, a very strong ethos of operating values. It consists of a number of individuals. The leader understands each individual contribution of every single individual, understands the team profile that they take in terms of Balban, and sets them up for success in that specific profile, in a specific role that will result in them being individually successful. The third stage is the leader also understands that there are development stages to a high-performing team and manages that process seamlessly and wisely. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of my session on teams. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I've given you some insights as to how you can go out there and create a high-performing team. And I also hope that you've had as much fun as I have. Thank you very much.